So, greetings and welcome. I'm Dr. Damon, your Chief Wellness Warrior, and I am really excited to welcome you to our webinar. This is a webinar that is focused on you, whether you're a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, a PTA or a CODA, or maybe you're a physical fitness enthusiast and professional. Maybe you are a nurse or a doctor, a chiropractor, a healer. This moment is for you because all too often we know that burnout can really take us away from what may have started out to be our initial passion, which is caring for and serving others. So, in this moment, I want you to center yourself with us, and we're going to focus on you as we help in the mission of claiming your future, beating burnout. So, let's get started first with a little bit of information about where this came from. So, just a few weeks ago, I was actually in Atlanta. I had the pleasure of sharing in a moment that I was really, really excited about. And in this moment, I got to speak to a group of physical therapy professionals and community members as we talked about the realities of this very touchy subject of burnout. And so, in that moment, really sharing and getting to explore what has become a special place for me in my professional practice and my personal mission to help people feel better and live better. I thought, well, we got to talk about this more, and more than just the people who were in that room deserve to know and to share and to grow in this space. So here we are. I'm excited that you're joining us on this mission. So let's get right to it. In this space of claiming your future, we've got to learn to beat burnout. It sounds like it's just a trigger word or a buzzword. And yes, it's become quite popular over the last couple of years. And as you'll learn, you'll see why, because it's become so prevalent in all the spaces that we serve and where we hope to really thrive personally and professionally. So as I said before, this began, not long ago as I was welcomed to be an impact speaker at the Georgia American Physical Therapy Association 2023 conference. And we had such an amazing opportunity to share and grow together. And I'm excited to bring not only that experience to you, but even more as we continue to develop our strength and our understanding of how we can take better care of ourselves and others. I always like to begin with a story. It really helps to set the tone for really our intention. I want you to picture it, Florida, 2017. Maybe you're a fan of Golden Girls like I am, and that moment might have got a little chuckle out of you. But I want you to think back to 2017. I can tell you where I was then. You see, back in Florida, Orlando to be exact, in 2017, I was living what some might consider my best life. I was in Florida, literally 30-minute drive with the top down from the nearest beach. I was enjoying, the warm summer air. Well, let's face it, it was Orlando, Florida, so that air was around year round. So we got to enjoy the warmth of the sand on our toes. We got to really appreciate new life. I was a new father back then. I was chasing around a little 1-year-old on the beach and around sunny Florida. I had what honestly to this day was the best co-working team and staff that I've ever had the opportunity to work with. We had an amazing team of over 15 PTs, PTAs, CODAs, OTs, speech language pathologists. We were in one of the high-end neighborhoods in the Orlando, Florida area where we were servicing our local community members in a skilled nursing facility. And I'll tell you, we had so much fun. And it was a great time to be in the space that I was in much of the time. But I'll tell you, these thoughts of, chasing around the baby and hanging out on the beach and kind of being away from the stresses of work was never far from my mind, so much so that even in the moment where they were calling me into the office for an important meeting, they kind of had to snap me back into reality, especially in the moment where I got fired. So, yes, in the moment that I was literally 2 days away from going on vacation and finding some rest and relaxation from all the stress of life, but definitely the job, it all kind of ended for me there. And it was a difficult moment to really face. But I'll tell you that in the few minutes that followed me getting fired, that time of walking down to our therapy gym and department and packing my bag with all of my things and putting my stuff in the box, yes, the proverbial box, where I had to load up all of my things and having tears in my eyes and sharing in some difficult goodbyes with my friends and family, walking out of that door, those sliding doors opening and that gust of air that swept across my face, I could tell you the tears that I had in my eyes quickly shifted, and I recognized and I realized that that was the absolute best thing that could have ever happened to me in my career. And I hope the moment we get to share in exploring this, you get to understand what that means. So, yeah, it was tough, especially considering that I was the sole breadwinner in my family with a new baby, um, a stay at home mom who legitimately had concerns about, well, what are we going to do? We have a mortgage, we have bills, we have a new baby to care for. That's a struggling time for anyone in that moment. And so for me to say that this was the best thing that could possibly happen to me, I could understand how you might not understand what that means for us right now. But I want to take you on a journey, and I hope that it will make some sense for you. So we're going to skip to the good part. And what I mean by the good part is that was 2017. That was years ago. And now I want you to say hello to my little Willow Penelope. And nowadays, she's a lot bigger than that little 1 year old running around on the beach. And she is an exceptional first grader. She enjoys making music, and that means on her keyboards, or maybe drumming on the drum pads, or even anything she can pick up will likely become an instrument for her. So we enjoy that space together. And she loves, loves, loves to trace and draw and design and create art that is centered around, yes, her favorite, which is the poop emoji. Um, the poop emoji makes an appearance in our lives practically on a daily basis. So, yeah. So, since that time, she's definitely grown and we've got to enjoy some beautiful, wonderful times together. But I can tell you, the best part for me is that that moment of getting fired really brings me personally full circle. What I mean by that is I'm the founder of Willpower Wellness and Consulting. I provide holistic training and support to help you elevate your inner peace and your profits in 90 days. This experience has brought me to opening my perspective as to what's really important. And in that, the clinician that I am, the person that I am, the professional that I am, has created a space for all of those things to come together. And with all of those things coming together is how we've met at this point. You see, with Willpower Wellness and Consulting, I'm able to really merge all of my passions, personally and professionally, all of my skills and tools in the same space to help people live better, move better, feel better, plan better, and enjoy life better. This means we get to offer CPR and BLS classes to our communities. We do public speaking and keynotes as it pertains to health and wellness and living well and doing those things individually, as a family, and as a community. We share Tai Chi lessons in our community and online. I also do private and professional coaching to help people with stress management, anxiety and coping skills, communication skills, life planning, relationship building, and more. We get the opportunity to share in moments like the Willpower Warrior experience, where we train teams and corporate organizations on how to build a wellness culture that serves not just their customers and their clients, but also their employees. And of course, conquering chronic pain is a personal and professional mission where we share in the guide to conquering chronic pain and events and community programs like the OKC Conquer Pain Workshop. I also have my personal drive and mission with our nonprofit, the Modern Manhood Foundation, where we empower men and communities with skills and tools to grow and build better communities. So when I tell you that that moment of being, yes, fired from that particular job was a turning point for me, it really made me recognize that although that was the best and most fun and inviting rehab team of people that I got to work with, some of whom I'm still in contact with to this day, and we still get to share in moments of our lives as we've grown over the years. But that moment really reminded me that it's more than just showing up in the physical. And when we're not doing that, how do we explore and understand what it is that we're going through that can lead us to leaving that job either on our own accord or maybe by having someone tell you to pack your box like I was told to do. So this brings us to the point of this experience and this moment that I want to share with you. Our mission is claiming your future, beating the burnout. Now, as I said, you might be a PT, an OT, a PTA, or a CODA, or a personal trainer, an acupuncturist, a massage therapist, a chiropractor, a nurse, a physician, a dentist. You could be a service provider. You could be a product manager. This experience of burnout, as you'll soon learn, is not just one that is experienced by healthcare professionals like myself. This is honestly a pandemic or an epidemic that is sweeping across our culture. And it's time that we really understand what it looks like so that we can take strides and make the right moves in order to reduce it, avoid it, and build healthier and stronger communities. So I'm excited to go with you on this journey. This course was created to bring awareness and influence to action among clinicians, administrators, and community members to reduce burnout and turnover, yes, among rehab and healthcare workers, but also among other members of our community. You'll find that this information, this knowledge, and the skills and tools that we share here can be used all across the board. So everyone's welcome to learn and grow and join in this experience with us. So at the end of the session, you'll be able to identify the telltale signs of burnout. You'll be able to explain the biopsychosocial influences of the burnout pandemic on healthcare professionals and the community at large. You'll also get to explore strategies, techniques, and resources and interdisciplinary partnerships to help you and others conquer burnout. So I've got to start out with a little bit of a pop quiz. I want to ask you a question. What percentage of physical therapists report struggling with burnout? I'm sure you've got a number in mind. And I'll tell you the answer is 87%. Yes. In a study that was shared at the APTA Combined Sections meeting just a few years ago in Denver, shared that 87% of PTs are reporting that they're struggling with burnout. And I mean, if this is an alarming number for you, just know that that number actually matches the same amount of physicians and nurses and other healthcare providers, and yes, other people in our communities outside of healthcare who are experiencing the real ramifications of burnout. What's also interesting in that this study also reported that 77% of those polled didn't were able to actually identify that they had burnout by their own self-admission. So think about that. When they looked at the Maslow burnout inventory, which is the standard for measuring whether someone has burnout or not, when they looked at that, 87% met the criteria, the cutoff for having what we call burnout. But only 77% of them actually knew that what they were experiencing was burnout or had self-identified as having burnout. So that tells us something really important when we think about it. It tells us that a lot of us are dealing with this and we don't necessarily know it. It's probably because we haven't really had a very clear definition or understanding of what burnout actually is. And this is why we've got to talk about it. So, what is burnout actually? Well, first, let's talk about what it's not. We might easily say that burnout is just anxiety or it's just depression or you're bored at work. But we know this isn't true. We know that, one, burnout is not mental illness. It's not just the presence of mental illness or mental issues like depression, anxiety, feeling tired, or having weakness or the perceived weakness of not being able to keep up with productivity or with other people. It's not the experience of just having fatigue or being bored with your job or feeling uninspired. There's some real information about what burnout looks like. And yes, there is an ICD-10 code for that. And I mean that for our clinicians who are looking at this, we can actually codify what burnout looks like. And as of 2021, it has actually showed up as a code Z73. Now, what that means is there are spaces and places that can actually account for the experiences of burnout and treat it appropriately. So, with that in mind, we have to understand what it looks like because under that particular code and in the research, we know that burnout can lead to deteriorating psychological and physiological functions. It can cause and actually exacerbate disturbances of cognitive functions. It can cause somatic and physiological arousal, reduce your cellular immunity, so your immune system starts to weaken. And we also know it leads to job turnover, lower morale, low productivity, absenteeism, and even alcohol or drug abuse. So, this is a serious issue that really demands we pay attention and that we are taking actions to really alleviate it or to avoid it altogether. Because we know that as clinicians, as service providers, how we show up in our jobs and in our careers have a profound effect on those that we serve and that we care for. So, in the study by DeHart and their team, they know that burnout, very specifically, is defined as work related stress syndrome resulting from chronic exposure to job stress. So we know that it's not just the presence of stress, it is a syndrome that really involves several stages where we see burnout start to have those effects that we talked about. So stage one, imagine starting your new job. Maybe you're a new therapist or a new uh, care provider. Maybe you're a new service provider. You've started this job. Maybe you're just out of school and this is your very first professional job, or you're already in the field. You've got tenure, you've got experience, and you're just starting over somewhere else with a new company. We get into our honeymoon phase, which is um, built on the enthusiasm of newness and the novelty of being in a new place and learning new things. And as we get ourselves settled in, we start to feel stage two, which is the onset of stress. We start to feel that stagnation. We're kind of getting in um, a groove and even finding that there are some ruts that we're running into. It oftentimes involves some physical exhaustion, and we are finding that the energy we're putting out is really weighing on us. And then we get into that chronic stress phase where we start to get frustrated and we start to feel the mental and emotional exhaustion and issues because those seemingly small problems or early on issues start to compound, and we're starting to recognize that they're not going away. They're not things that are changing. So, what happens is we move into that fourth stage. This is what's considered burnout. We may find ourselves in a cycle already that has led us to having constant stress that we don't see going away anytime soon. And here's an interesting take as they've rounded out these stages with stage five, which is habitual burnout. And this means that this burnout might not be the first time that you've even experienced that same syndrome or that same feeling, because what happens is we get to this habitual burnout space and we take action finally. There's usually an intervention, but let's face it, what does that intervention usually look like? We've quit the job and we've gone on to the next one. And guess what? We start that all over again by moving back into the honeymoon phase. So this brings a question. Remember, I talked about how burnout is not um, simply an experience that only PTs or only OTs have, right? So if everyone has the possibility of experiencing this, how soon does burnout begin? Now, this research and this particular question and answer I'm going to share is based on physical therapists, but I think you may not be surprised about how this answer fares. So, how soon does burnout begin to appear, at least in the PT field? Okay, I bet you've got an answer or a thought in your mind. Hold on to that. So, the answer to that question is year one. Now, you might be thinking, well, of course that makes sense. I mean, you're a new physical therapist, you just got your license, everything is new, you don't have any experience. Well, let me stop you right there because when I say year one, I do not mean year one of being a professional. I mean year one in physical therapy school. Yes, your first year, your first year of physical therapy school, it is often likely that you may already be experiencing burnout before you even get paid. This one really catches some of us off guard because we expect that it's going to be a challenge. We expect that it's going to demand long hours and it's demanding mentally and physically to really make it through um, our educational progress and process, be it PT school, OT school, be it nursing school, medical school, even going through other programs like trades can be really challenging. So you can understand that with those experiences, you might be at a higher risk for developing burnout. And that can just roll right into your career if we allow it. Now, we've got to understand the telltale signs of burnout. So there are three distinct qualitative dimensions that make up burnout, which means these are things that we can measure. We can really measure and give some uh, some reliability to understanding what burnout looks like. The first one is emotional exhaustion. Now, this is more than just feeling emotionally drained or feeling um, empathy towards others. This experience of feeling emotionally exhausted comes when there's hardly any time or energy or systems in place to allow you to recover, especially in such a field as rehab care or healthcare, because we connect so deeply with our patients and our clients and our community members, especially when it involves them going through some difficult moments in their life. And when burnout kicks in, one of the first things that we start to notice that is that emotionally your capacity to show up starts to go away and we feel exhausted. The second telltale sign is depersonalization. Now, look at our little person here. They've got their pencil. You can see their eyes are, well, they're pretty glazed over. There's not much expression going on. And I can tell you, if you look close enough, you can see all they're doing is checking the box. As a physical therapist, I get the opportunity to work very closely with my patients. I oftentimes can spend an hour or more with them. And so, in really developing that relationship, we really get to explore not just who they are, but they get to know me and they get to know who we are as people when we spend so much time with them. And so naturally, we bring our personal spark to our care, to our moments of spending time with our patients and our clients. And it's important that we bring that special something to the table. Oftentimes, that's when our best work happens, when we have that creativity and that autonomy to really be able to be ourselves. And it shows in our care. But when burnout kicks in, everything becomes depersonalized. And all of a sudden, all you're doing is the bare minimum or the basics. You're showing up to do what you got paid to do, and that's it. No more. And if possible, yes, we'll do less. So by the time that emotional exhaustion and that depersonalization kicks in, there's only one thing left that really describes what burnout looks like. And that is a low personal accomplishment. Now, Oftentimes we move into our careers or we move into new experiences and we are excited to achieve some amazing things. We want to be the employee of the month. We want to create new systems and new treatments and new ideas for how to make people better and help them feel better, move better. But when burnout kicks in, none of that really matters because unfortunately we get this feeling that we're really not accomplishing anything. We feel like just showing up and putting in all the effort and all the energy doesn't really accomplish anything. And so we feel like there's no difference if I was even here. So why put any energy towards it? We start to notice that there doesn't seem to be a any space for movement, upward mobility, any space to enjoy different experiences. Maybe we feel like there's not really much accomplishment beyond just being in this particular role or this particular job, this area of practice. We just don't feel like there's much in the job for us. So now we don't have much to give either. And when those three things, emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and low personal accomplishment show up, those are the signs of burnout. And it becomes really clear that we have crossed over that line. Now, especially in our growing health and wellness space and our healthcare system, we're finally starting to talk about how important it is that we understand the biopsychosocial influences of burnout. And when we look at it, the biopsychosocial model, it really tells us that our health and our happiness and healing has to happen in the intersections of not just our biology or our physical selves. It's not just about the illness or the age, gender, and the genetics, the demographics, or just the physical health of people. We also have to understand that we have to make a difference. And unfortunately, burnout shows up in the psychological sphere as well, as it pertains to our expectations, maybe past traumas that we've dealt with, and the beliefs and attitudes and coping skills that we carry with us from our culture or from our personal experiences. And burnout has a way of influencing, unfortunately, our sociological areas as well. Our work situations suffer, our education and socioeconomic status can suffer, plus our family and friends and our relationships and our cultural relationships and traditions all suffer when burnout shows up. For instance, when burnout is present, we naturally and unfortunately feel more illness and our immune system decreases. That specifically affects our biological system. But then when you also consider the anxiety, depression, the feelings of imposter syndrome, those things can affect our psychological selves. And then we find ourselves in that career coma that I talked about, where we really don't see any real reason to do anything more than the bare minimum, but we also don't see a way out. And when we look at it, it becomes a social issue when burnout influences the way we work in a way that causes us to make more medical mistakes, which means our patients are in danger. We find that there's increased absenteeism, so employees are just out of work more often because they're sick, be it physically, mentally, emotionally. Plus, we see that there's an increase in the employee healthcare costs. So that affects the whole social system. And of course, what it often leads to is increased turnovers. And that can be a very, very costly experience for not just a person who has to find new work. I'm raising my hand. But also for the companies and the businesses that are trying to serve our patients and our clients in the community. So when we look at it, burnout isn't just a personal issue. It's an issue that affects everyone all at the same time. So that leads us to a really good question, which is what is the cost to replace a healthcare worker once they've left the job, be it intentionally on their own, as if someone has turned in their notice, or unintentionally, like myself in that one gig? What is the cost to replace a healthcare worker like a PT, an OT, or a nurse? I bet you got a number in your head already, and I'll tell you the answer is $65,000. Think about that though. When someone is gone from the job, the company has to put out an ad, they have to do marketing, they have to create or update the job market information and the definition of what that job is. They have to work with HR professionals in order to interview people. They have to also get you oriented and get someone new placed in the system. So IT has to put work in, administration has to put work in, management has to bring this person on, spend time and energy getting them acclimated and getting them functional in the job. New healthcare policies have to be enacted. New salaries have to be started. If there is a starting bonus or a transfer bonus, moving expenses, all of those things can be very costly. And you can imagine for a smaller company that may only have 10 employees, that's $65,000 to replace someone is a big cost that can have some deep pocket ramifications. So, all of this to say, we've got to beat burnout. We've got to do our part to really understand it and help to alleviate it in those who are experiencing it and hopefully to avoid it altogether. So let's talk about four different ways that we're going to beat burnout. I've got four specific action oriented things that you can do to help relieve burnout, or in the very least, fend it off if you're not experiencing it. Now, we're going to shift gears before I share those four with you because I need my administrators to listen up because I'm not just talking to the person, to the employee, to the staff member. We're talking about burnout and how it affects you at the administration level. Because when a company invests in their staff, it pays off. For instance, Johnson and Johnson reported that they were able to save $250 million. That's $25 million per year over a 10-year span after investing in a comprehensive employee health and wellness program for their teams. Now, what that means is they were able to focus and enact a program that included personalized and private coaching experiences, health risk assessments to help people understand their health better, self-help education materials, classes, seminars, group activities, and added incentives for participation. And this really paid off for them, not just in dividends, not just in the money, because they also saw that there was reduced absenteeism with 237% return on investment. That means for every dollar they put into this health and wellness program, they were able to save $2.37 on absenteeism because their staff was showing up on time more and they were actually spending more time at work. They were absent less because they were healthier. They also saw that there were reduced healthcare costs, and that was with a 300% return on investment. So for every dollar they spent on this health and wellness program for their employees, they saw that they were able to save $3 in the cost of providing insurance and healthcare for those employees. So that was a great return. They also saw that there was an improved productivity and job satisfaction because when employees are healthier, they feel seen, they feel heard, they have resources and tools to live better lives, then of course they're happier at work and they're going to work harder and produce more. There's quality in that. And of course, they saw less turnovers. So teammates and team members who enjoyed working together stayed together longer. You could imagine that that was a monumental shift in what corporate looked like. Because oftentimes businesses might fear that spending money on anything that is not on the bottom line or that doesn't specifically pertain to their service may be a waste. But we know now that focusing on staff well being pays and everybody is better for it. So, administrators, you know what to do. But right now, we're all going to learn some things that we can share right now in this moment to help beat burnout. So, we've got to talk about before, though, coping styles and how important it is to understand that there is a science and there's understanding around how we deal with stress and deal particularly with burnout that is important to know. So, oftentimes, coping styles coping styles can be described in three different styles. The first style is what we call emotion oriented coping. And in this, the person who is more emotion oriented, they're going to focus on themselves and their emotional experiences. They're going to lean into activities that are aimed at reducing emotional strain. And what that could look like is they're reliving the struggles, they're reliving those difficult emotional experiences on a daily basis. And so they're going to lean into activities that can take some of that away. And unfortunately, those things can be harmful. Maybe this is using substances or bad habits that actually aren't good for their body, but helps to alleviate those tough feelings just in the moment. And oftentimes that person is demonstrating a negative attitude, and we know that being more emotion oriented in your coping skills may lead to increased stress, and it can become unfavorable in the long run. Now, the second style of coping is task oriented coping. And in this, we see that there are various activities to manage the stressful situation. These persons who are choosing task oriented coping skills are making use of cognitive processes or they're searching for information. This is someone who might be looking for different things to help them better manage or better deal. These, these task oriented coping skills may be favorable in the case of controllable situations. So, in moments where we find we have more autonomy and we have a little more control over our life, we may look for different processes or information to help us get through that moment. Maybe we have a little more control over our schedules at work and we can modify it that allows us to deal with stress better or to have less stress because we know that we can manage our time and our duties better when we are able to prioritize things. So the third style is avoidance oriented coping. And in this style, we basically avoid confrontation with the source of our stress, be that a coworker, be that a certain job duty, a certain aspect of the job that is demanding, like maybe it's physical, maybe it is emotionally demanding, and we just avoid confronting it or dealing with the source of the stress, be it a person, a place, or a thing. Or we'll choose distraction and we just engage in alternative activities. Maybe we find that while we're at work, we are spending time doing things that aren't necessarily part of the job duty, spending time focused on other parts of our life, or we're just zoning out with social media or with personal things that take us away and allow us to really avoid it. Now, we do know that that can also lead to some social diversion where we're not spending any time with those who we're working with. We insist on staying in solitude. And overall, that can lead us to really having unfavorable conditions. But I will say that it's not all bad because sometimes avoidance is the only way to really deal with uncontrollable situations. So when we are in a job that we have no autonomy. We have no way of really controlling the situation or modifying the situation. Avoiding the source of the stress might be the only option we have to really get through it. But when we look at this big picture, the research is pretty clear that when we take a task oriented coping approach, it's often most favorable for us in the case of our positions. And the research shows that when we talk about physical therapists, particularly, that task oriented coping style really serves us best. And even when it's paired with maybe some of the other styles, some emotional oriented coping, and even some avoidance, um, the task oriented coping seems to serve us the best. So that's why we're going to lean into understanding why we've chosen the four things that we're going to explore in order to beat the burnout today. So, finally, let's clear the air. The four ways we're going to beat burnout is one, we're going to develop your inner peace. Two, we're going to cultivate relationships. Three, I want you to book it. You got to book it. We're not waiting any longer. Book it. And number four, find joy in your work. So let's break this down. When we talk about developing your inner peace, there are some specific skills and tools and things that you can explore right now that will help you really understand your personal values. This is one of my all time favorite parts of helping people beat burnout. So, I'm going to share with you an experience that will hopefully help you get to know yourself better and help you move towards creating the life that serves you best. We're going to define your values. This is an exercise to help you find clarity and focus on what's important to you in your life. This exercise I've created based on an overview of the Swartz theory of basic values. You see, Shalom Swartz is a social psychologist who has really put a lot of energy and research behind defining our human values and how they are expressed and explored in cultures all over the world. So this is going to be a fun experience, and I know it's going to be an enlightening one for you. So what are values? Your values are what you identify as guiding principles in your life. Your successes and your struggles, they often give you clues about what values really resonate with you the most. And you'll see what I mean here. Now, why are values important? Well, that's because your values are at the heart of every single decision you make. Values are universal, and you experience values and you hold on to values no matter your age, gender, or your cultures. You see, my 7-year-old daughter, she has certain values that are important to her, and they're not all the same as my own. So even though she may not have words to put to them, there are some values that are so important to her that they guide her in her decisions, her actions, and her reactions. And when we know what our values are, we get to reap the benefits. So the benefits of living your values is that you get to make better decisions for yourself and others. You communicate better with others, especially about who you are and what your needs are. And you get to reduce your stress. So let's explore. What you'll need is the Defining Values worksheet. Hopefully, before starting this webinar, you were able to print out the instruction sheet, and page 2 was the Defining Values worksheet, which looks like this sheet that's on your screen. So grab a pen and grab this worksheet. Now, what we're going to do is I want you to write down each of the following words or phrases that resonates with you. Trust your instincts. Don't think about it too much or too long because they won't stay on the screen for very long. Now you'll notice that you've got quite a few lines there, but if you run out of lines, by all means, write them anywhere else on the paper, in the margins, flip it over on the back, whatever you need to do. Because I'm not here to tell you how many values you should write down. You get to decide. If it speaks to you, write it down. All I ask is that you don't write anything on those bottom three lines where it says top three. Leave those open for now. Now, here we go. Remember, write it down if it speaks to you, but be quick because we're moving pretty fast. Let's begin. Social power, control over others, dominance. Authority, the right to lead or command. Wealth, material possessions, money. Preservation of my public image, protecting my face. Social recognition, respect, approval by others. Success, achieving goals. Capability, competent, effective, efficient. Ambition, hard work, aspiring. Influence, having an impact on people and events. Intelligence, logical thinking. Self-respect, belief in one's own worth. Pleasure, gratification of desires. Enjoyment of life, enjoying food, relaxation, leisure, etc. Self-indulgence, doing pleasant things. Daring, seeking adventure, risk. A varied life filled with challenge, novelty, and change. An exciting life, stimulating experiences. Creativity, uniqueness, imagination. Curiosity, interested in everything, exploring. Freedom, freedom of action and thought. Choice of own goals, selecting own purposes. Independence, self-reliant, self-sufficient. Privacy, the right to have a private sphere. Protection of the environment, preserving nature. A world of beauty, beauty of nature and the arts. Unity with nature, fitting into nature. Broad-mindedness, tolerant of different ideas and beliefs. Social justice, correcting injustice, care for the weak. Wisdom, a mature understanding of life. Equality, equal opportunity for all. A world at peace, free of war and conflict. Inner harmony, at peace with myself. Helpfulness, working for the welfare of others. Honesty, genuine, sincere. Forgiveness, willing to pardon others. Loyalty, faithful to my friends, my group. responsibility, dependable, reliable. True friendship, close, supportive friends. A spiritual life, emphasis on spiritual and not material matters. Mature love, deep emotional and spiritual intimacy. Meaning in life, having a purpose in life. Devoutness, holding to religious faith and belief. Acceptance of my portion in life, submitting to life's circumstances. Humility, modest or self-effacing. Moderation, avoiding extremes of feeling and action. Respect for tradition, preservation of time-honored customs. Politeness, courtesy, having good manners. Respect for parents and elders, showing respect. Self-discipline, being self-reliant and resistance to temptation. Obedience, dutiful, meeting obligations. Cleanliness, being neat and tidy. National security, protection of my nation from enemies. Social order, stability of society. Family security, safety for loved ones. Reciprocation of favors, avoidance of indebtedness. Health, not being sick physically or mentally. A sense of belonging, feeling that others care about me. Great, so we're all done. Now we're on to the next step. I want you to sort your list now. We're going to create two groups. So of all of those values that you wrote down, you're going to have two groups. The first being the must-haves. These are non-negotiable. These are the ones that no matter what, they have to be a part of your experience in your own personal set of values. And I want you to put a star next to those. The others that are remaining, those are your meaningful values. And of course, they're of high importance because you wrote them down, but they're not always a must-have. So I want you to take a moment and write down, or rather, put a star next to each of the values that for you is a must-have or non-negotiable. Remember, don't take too long. Trust your intuition. And you can have as many non-negotiables as you would like. Take about 10 more seconds. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next step, which is identifying your top three must-haves. So, of the ones that you put a star next to, I want you to choose your top three and write them at the bottom of the page, one on each line. This can be pretty tough for a lot of us, but you can do it. Trust your intuition, and again, don't wait too long. We're going to keep moving. So now that you've written them at the bottom of the page, label them numbers 1, number 2, and number 3 in order of priority. So choose which one of those three is your top priority of values, and then number 2 and number 3. So, if we were hanging out together and you were at our live in person session, then everyone would have written their value on the clipboard and made sure it was nice, big, and bold. And we would get to explore together as a community what those values look like, how they link us together, and we get to explore the overarching values of our organization or the group with which we find ourselves in. Because we know that values are what make up cultures. So, we're going to explore a little bit more on the personal aspect of these values. So, I want you to consider a few questions. You might even want to turn this paper over and write these questions so that you can explore them on your own a little bit later or maybe with other people. So, as you develop a better understanding of your values, how do they impact the way you serve, the way you show up for your patients or your community members or your clients? Something else to consider. Which of your top values resonates with you the most and why? And I'd even add on, how does that speak to how you deal with the stress of your job? Or maybe now that you know what your top values are, you recognize why some things, some jobs, or some experiences stress you out more than others. And also, let's consider how might your fresh understanding of your personal top values help you make better decisions, especially when it comes to your career or how you serve others. You might want to spend some more time exploring your values and understanding how they show up during your struggle can be a major milestone in deciding how you show up, especially in the face of burnout or the stress and struggle that comes with a work environment that just isn't really feeding you and your needs or allowing you to better serve the needs of your clients, your patients, or your community. And of course, you might consider speaking with a counselor or a therapist, or maybe even a certified health and wellness coach who can help you put a plan together so that you can really move into spaces and places that serve you best and that allow you to serve others best based on your personal values and who you are. There are mentors, supervisors out there who, once they understand your values, they can better help you beat up, beating burnout when and as you in a place where you feel there's really no good that can be done for you or that you can do for your patients or your clients or even the organization that you work for. So great job, guys. I'm excited and I would love to hear back what your top three values are and how this may be helpful for you, not just in beating burnout, but in creating a life and a career that really serves you and serves others the best. So, we've talked about understanding your personal values and how important that is to developing your inner peace. The second thing we're going to look at and enjoy and appreciate is that oftentimes finding some way of meditation and self soothing activities can really be helpful in you growing, beating burnout, and creating and living a life of peace and happiness. For me personally, Tai Chi was one of the great experiences and activities that I was able to explore for me personally, but also in the professional space. So I'm excited to share in this moment with you all. I want you to create some space for yourself where you can get on your feet, or maybe you may need to sit down, and that's okay. But I want to share with you a crash course in Tai Chi because what I found is that as I personally found some enjoyment and some inner peace with practicing and learning about Tai Chi, I saw that it immediately made a difference for my patients in the clinic. And then when I shared with other PTs and OTs and other healthcare and fitness professionals through the CEU course that I created for Tai Chi, I found that they all told us that in the moment of practicing Tai Chi with us, just to learn it for their patients, that they got some personal benefit from it, and it was just as helpful for them. So, of course, let's share in a wonderful Tai Chi moment together. Here we go. Hi, I'm Dr. Damon with Willpower Wellness. Tai Chi is an ancient art form and exercise that's utilized all around the world. Every day, people are practicing and enjoying and reaping the benefits of Tai Chi. So, as a doctor of physical therapy, a rehab professional, I was stumped to realize that we're not using Tai Chi in our everyday practice. And so, diving into the world of Tai Chi myself and utilizing it as a tool in my own toolbox with my patients, it has brought me in numerous opportunities to build stronger connections with my patients, to introduce them to something totally new that they may not have seen or heard of before. And the power of Tai Chi is proven in the research to reduce stress, reduce depression, improve range of motion, flexibility, strength, improve balance, and overall improve a person's quality of life. So, how is it that we, PTs, OTs, nurses, fitness professionals, how are we not utilizing this as part of our everyday toolbox? I'm excited that you're going to join me on this short introduction or crash course into Tai Chi for rehab professionals. I want you to make sure that you've got good space, comfortable loose clothing, and good footwear on, because this is an interactive course in which I'll be teaching you an actual Tai Chi form that I use almost every day in my own practice and introduce you to just the tip of the iceberg of how beneficial and fun and enjoyable Tai Chi can be, maybe in your practice with your patients and your clients. So I'm going to share with you some of the research and some of the ways that you can apply Tai Chi in hopes that you'll be looking forward to joining in our full day Intro to Tai Chi for Rehab and Fitness Professionals. It's a course that I created specifically for you, rehab and fitness professionals who need to have the firm backing and understanding and resources so that you can share Tai Chi effectively, safely, and bring that space to your clients' experiences. So enjoy, and I look forward to hearing from you about how much this has opened your own eyes into the possibilities of Tai Chi. All right, so welcome to the crash course, Intro to Tai Chi. Call it a crash course because we're going to rush through this because there's a lot of information I want to share, but it'll be fun. Granted, Tai Chi is an ancient practice with unimaginable depth, so it's important to know that we are merely peeking at a tiny, small tip of this iceberg, and yet this short little lesson should really open your eyes to a wondrous world. So here are the objectives, and it may seem like a lot, but I guarantee it'll all make sense in just a few moments. At the end of this video, you'll be able to recount a short history of Tai Chi and its basic principles, also identify at least 2 rehab or fitness-related settings where Tai Chi is shared or practiced. I mean, who knows? You may be in one of those settings right now. You'll also be able to discuss some of the research-based evidence that supports the use of Tai Chi in rehabilitation. That's one of my favorite parts. You'll also be able to demonstrate a popular Tai Chi form, which is used in rehabilitation and fitness settings. I'm going to teach that to you right here, right now. And finally, I'll invite you to register for the full Intro to Tai Chi for Rehab Professionals course. Now, what is Tai Chi? Well, you may have heard of shadowboxing, or you might have even seen a group of people in a park practicing these movements together without knowing that that was Tai Chi. Tai Chi is an ancient Chinese tradition that today is practiced as a graceful art and a form of exercise. So the movements, they're performed in a slow, focused manner. And there's also a focus on deep and controlled breathing. It's non-competitive, it's self-paced, and it focuses on the natural flowing movements of the body and continuous motion. Tai Chi has many different styles as well, so each style may subtly emphasize various principles or postures or methods. We're not going to get into that right now, but some styles may focus on the health maintenance, which is what we focus on in the style that I teach, while others focus on the martial arts aspect of Tai Chi. It's also referred to as meditation in movement. And see, that is what initially piqued my personal interest. So I took a CEU course. And although I fell in love with Tai Chi, I was extremely disappointed with the lack of clinical application, research, and practitioner insight. Now, not to say anything bad about my instructor because she was wonderful, she was amazing, but she was a kindergarten teacher, so she couldn't answer any of my clinical questions that I had about how I could utilize Tai Chi with my patients. That's what sparked me creating this course. So here we are. Now, the principles of Tai Chi are the foundation that guides us through our movements. Those principles are really important, and I'm not expecting you to remember all of these, but it is, again, when you think about these as you practice Tai Chi, it makes a lot more sense. So, movement is important. Make sure that your movements are slow and smooth and continuous. And we always encourage our students to imagine you're moving against a gentle resistance like water or a magnetic force. Also, your body is important. We want to make sure that we're maintaining an upright posture, which may be different based on the style of Tai Chi, but overall, you want to be well aligned and well controlled with how you're moving. Also, you need to be conscious of weight transference. Fill the well is um, a way that we cue our students. When you're moving and shifting away from your left leg to your right leg, or vice versa, think about filling up your leg as if it's a well, and your weight is the water. It should be smooth and continuous flow, and it can easily turn back in the other direction. So the third principle is more internal. We want you to kind of tap into your joints and try to relax and gently stretch and expand, while also sharing in a mental quietness or serenity. See, with Tai Chi, we focus on the movements, we focus on our breathing, and we focus on being mindful and settling into the moment. But research shows that regular Tai Chi practice has a lot of benefits. I mean, look at this list here. I want you to carefully look down that list, and I want you to identify at least two patients that you are treating right now who present with some of these issues. They can benefit from Tai Chi. Now, how about this list? I mean, do you see it? These are our patients. These are people who are coming into our clinics and into our facilities. And Tai Chi is making a difference. I have seen it with my own eyes. Now, this long list shows places where Tai Chi instructors like myself teach our classes. I bet you can probably pick out two places on this list where you've worked or maybe somebody you know has worked. There might be Tai Chi there. Now, about this list. Places? Yeah. You see, Tai Chi is already where you are. It's where we are as clinicians and community health and wellness warriors. And these places are where our patients are too. So this brings us to the big question, which is why aren't we the ones teaching and sharing Tai Chi? I mean, the research is there. We know it works and it makes a difference. So why are we not doing it? Well, the answer is we don't know. And I mean this literally. We simply don't know much, if anything, about Tai Chi unless we get lucky and stumble on it, kind of like I did. So I'm here to do something about that. I'm going to teach you Tai Chi right now, right here. So let's practice. Now, are you excited? Because I'm excited. Well, first, we're going to keep things in mind. Understand that the principles, like we talked about, are the foundation of Tai Chi. And mindfulness, being aware of how you're breathing. For instance, we focus on what we call Dantian breathing. If you translate that, it actually means diaphragmatic breathing. So when you inhale, your belly extends, not your chest. And when you exhale, your belly, the lower part of your belly tightens and not your chest. We also focus again on weight transference, that posture awareness and gently filling the weight through to the earth as you're shifting and moving back and forth. And of course, situational awareness. I always tell my students that when their hand is moving across their face in space, that they should try to meet and lock on their fingertips. And their mind should only be in the space between their these principles can help you see Tai Chi in its truest form and most beautiful form, even as a beginner. But now it's time to practice. I want you to make some space for yourself and get on your feet. Here we go. Now, we usually begin all of our Tai Chi classes with a full body warm up and stretching exercise routine. It's gentle and practically anyone can do them. But in this case, I've chosen 3 so that we can focus on the parts of the body that we'll be using the most in this short lesson. So I want you to make sure that you're standing with your feet shoulder width apart, comfortable stance with a slight bend in your knees. Now, for anyone who might feel that standing up will put them at risk for falling or other types of injuries, that's okay. These exercises and the Tai Chi forms that we're going to learn today can actually be performed while sitting in a chair. So safety comes first, and I want you to make sure that you make a good decision about what is going to be the safest for you to participate with us today. So now that we're ready, we'll begin with exercises particularly for your core or your torso. We're going to raise our arms up, fingers to the sky, and bring your hands in close to your chest. Our first exercise, we're going to rotate and take your left hand and place it on top with your right hand underneath, as if you're holding on to a beach ball. What we'll do is rotate our hands so that your right hand faces the sky and starts to push away, while your left hand pushes towards the ground. I want you to envision your spine gently stretching, but only move within your comfort zone, and you don't have to fully extend. I'm going to come back to the middle, switch hands, and stretch with the left hand up top. Good. We'll do that 2 more times. So we'll switch with the right hand up again. Gently stretch, envisioning your spine stretching out gently, staying within your comfort zone. 2, 1 more time. Each hand reaching to the sky as we gently stretch our spine. Good. So our second exercise actually starts in the same position. Following your left elbow, holding that beach ball, I want you to connect that beach ball to your heart. As I rotate to the left, without moving my hips, rotate that ball just far enough so that your hands stay in front of your body. Then we're going to switch and bring the right hand on top. And gently rotate to the right side. Again, stay within your comfort zone. And we're keeping our hips and our pelvis face forward while our upper body gently rotates within our comfort zone. Good. This is 2. We'll complete this stretch 1 more time to each direction. There's 1. Good. And here's our last stretch. So we'll rotate again and we'll finish up in our starting position. Good. So now I want you to take your hands and place them down by your side. Some deep breaths. Our third stretching and warm-up exercise is called gathering chi. We'll take your palms towards the sky. We're going to reach out. So take an inhale deep into your belly and then press down as you exhale, tightening up your belly. 1. Let's do that 2 more times. Taking big belly breaths, as I call them. That allows us to really take some good diaphragmatic breaths, which we know causes relaxation and can even help reduce pain. So it's a great exercise that I use with my PT patients. Good. So now we're all warmed up. Tai Chi has a depth to it that is far beyond just the simple exercises that I'll be sharing with you today. And that's the beauty of it. Tai Chi, based on the research, is shown to improve strength, flexibility, reduce fall risks. It's even been shown to reduce stress and depression. It helps to manage diabetes. and even chronic pain situations and syndromes like fibromyalgia or chronic low back pain or any other chronic orthopedic pain that our patients come to us with. So it has been a joy and truly fun to incorporate Tai Chi exercises and stretches and warm ups like we've just done in my practice as a physical therapist, but also to share the power and the vibrancy that Tai Chi brings with those in the community. So now I'm ready to show you one of my favorite Tai Chi forms, which is called harmonizing yin and yang. Now, for this exercise, we'll be in the same position. Once again, if it feels better for you to be in a seated position or to have a chair, a sturdy table, or a countertop next to you for safety, please, I want you to do that. So we'll take a moment so that you can get yourself prepared. Watch me as I demonstrate harmonizing yin and yang in its entirety. I'm going to come up to the starting position. When you hear me speak of starting position, this is what I mean. You'll have your hands placed in front of your chest with your fingertips facing the sky and your palms facing each other. Slight bend in your knees. This is harmonizing yin and yang. Begin. Did you see? I'll do it again one more time. Harmonizing yin and yang. Begin. So now what we'll do is break this down into 3 parts. Here's the first part. Again, I'll start in starting position. The first part involves taking your fingers tips and you're going to point them down to the ground on the left side of your foot. Turn your palms and rotate them to the right and gently swing your hands across towards the right. That's part 1. I'll show you again. In the starting position, fingertips down, palms facing right, swing across. Okay? I'm going to turn around so that you can follow with me and we can do that together. Starting position. Begin. Fingers down to the ground, rotate your palms to face the right, swing your hands across. Good. Let's do that again. Starting position. Begin. Fingertips down, palms facing right, swing across. Good. One more time. All together. Starting position. Begin. Good. So now we're going to add part 2. So I want you to follow along as I add part 2. Starting position. Begin. Part 1. Fingers down to the ground. Rotate your hands to the right. Swing across. Part 2 is coming up diagonally over the left shoulder and facing your palms forward. Did you see that? Let's do it again. Begin. Fingers down. Rotate. Swing across. Diagonal up to the left side and palms forward. Good. So that's part 2. I'm going to turn around so you can follow with me and we can do it together. Okay. Starting positions. Parts 1 and 2. Begin. Up diagonal to the left, palms facing forward. Let's do that again. Starting position. Parts 1 and 2. Begin. Fingers down. Swing across. Diagonal. Palms forward. Great. One more time together. Starting position, parts one and two. Begin. Good. Almost there. So now let's add on part three. Remember, from the starting position, we have part one, part two. Come up diagonally and your palms face forward. Part three, turn your palms towards the right as your body gently rotates to the right and comes back to the center. Starting position. I'll do that one more time. We're going to do parts one, two, and three. Begin. Fingers down, slowly across, diagonal, and pass. Back to starting position. Parts one, two, and three. I'm going to turn around so that we can do this together. Okay? Starting position. Begin. That was nice. Let's do it again. Parts one, two, and three. Begin. Let's do one more time together. Begin. Good. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And you can imagine that when you're in a full Tai Chi course, you're able to immerse yourself in the practice of gentle flowing movements, of envisioning yourself moving to your fullest capacity, but also respecting your body and what it's telling you. Tai Chi gives us an opportunity to not only share an interaction with other people and with the world around us, but particularly with our inner selves, really tapping in our mind and our body and moving together and being more mindful of how we move and where we move. And so that's one of the many benefits of Tai Chi. I hope you enjoyed this portion of our course. And I would encourage you to look to the experience of enjoying our intro to Tai Chi for rehab and fitness professionals. That gives us an 8-hour course in order to really dive into the specific ways and the powerful ways that Tai Chi not only can be helpful for the general population, but for the patients and clients that we see on a daily basis. I look forward to you joining us in that course where we can really take a good deep dive and immersion into an actual full on Tai Chi class where you'll learn principles and philosophies and information and research that shows the efficacy and the power of Tai Chi. So I hope you enjoyed that lesson as much as I did. Now we get to the research part, and honestly, I do kind of geek out about this, but don't worry, I won't bore you with a barrage of stats. And quite the contrary, I'm doing the cliff notes and just a few because I want to make sure to make my point. I think it might be an eye opener to see what kind of literature is there to support utilizing Tai Chi the way we do. So let's start with fall prevention. Now, this is a systematic review, and they looked at over 100 randomized controlled trials and across 25 countries. We know that that is at like the top tier of research that supports what changes are actually happening. Now, I want you to check that word in that second bullet point, excluded. Because in this particular study, they took they took conditions like Parkinson's, stroke, multiple sclerosis, dementia, hip fracture, and visual impairments, and they excluded those people. Now, that word excluded is important because it speaks to the strength of the actual benefit of Tai Chi in your average community dwelling elderly population. I work in orthopedic outpatient clinics, so these people represented in this study, those are my peeps. And I have to tell you, the results, they speak for themselves. I mean, when we look at this, eight balance, coordination, and functional task training were found to reduce falls by 24%. I mean, that looks like PT, OT, and restorative nursing to me. And then when we look at the group that did Tai Chi, they were estimated to reduce falls by 19%. I mean, that's pretty close, right? And it just blew my mind to see that when you combine two or more of these interventions, then the fall risk drops by 34%. This slide alone tells me that we need to be sharing Tai Chi. And even if we're not personally sharing and doing that, this is something that we need to make aware to our communities and to our patients. So when we switch gears and we look at another study, this one focused on chronic pain. I mean, we see patients all day, every day who come in for chronic pain. So how can Tai Chi help them? I love what I saw in the study. Now, this also is a systematic review, and they did 18 randomized control trials in different countries. What was different about this one, and contrary to the last study, is they actually included the diagnoses in chronic conditions: osteoarthritis, CBA, low back pain, osteoporosis, fibromyalgia, herpes, and rheumatoid arthritis. And it was really interesting to see the results. And I'll just tell you, spoiler alert, the results are on our side. Okay? Reduced pain was noticed with Tai Chi for the group who had osteoarthritis. Reduced pain for the group who had CVA. Reduced pain for the group that had low back pain. The support is there. We just have to take it to the masses, guys. So honestly, there's so much more support in the research out there, from Parkinson's, vestibular dysfunction, diabetes, mental health. I mean, I'm excited to share all of that, but we'll have to save that for a later time because, again, this is a crash course. So this brings us to my main point in sharing this course overall, and that is Tai Chi is an amazing tool that is appropriate for all settings, and it can be made safe and enjoyable and revitalizing for almost anyone. I mean, even with persons who have special conditions or considerations or complexities like you see here. So I want to say thank you. That's it. This is the crash course, Intro to Tai Chi. And I hope that this piqued your personal interest in learning more about Tai Chi and seeing how well it flows beautifully into the treatment practices of rehab and fitness professionals like you and me. Now, this is a free crash course, so I'm sharing it with you. And I only ask one thing, and that is that you continue in the natural flow of all things Tai Chi and pass it on. Pass this link on to the next person. Visit our website for more information, and please email me and tell me what you think. I can't wait to hear about it. I'll see you next time. Be well. Be honest. Did you learn something new today? Did you enjoy practicing harmonizing yin and yang? If so, imagine how great of an experience you are going to have when you attend the fully immersive course, Intro to Tai Chi for Rehab and Fitness Professionals. This course was created by me, Doctor of Physical Therapy, and board certified Tai Chi for Rehab instructor. And I had you in mind: PTs, OTs, PTAs, and CODAs, nurses, athletic trainers, when I put together all the resources, research evidence, and the experience of learning how we can all share the power of Tai Chi with our patients every day. I promise you, this will be an enlightening and fun experience for you and your colleagues, especially for clinicians like you who want to bring something new and invigorating to your patients and your clinics. This is a one-of-a-kind course, and you won't get any experience like this anywhere else. It's time you and your colleagues learn about Tai Chi together. Here's what you need to know. This course has already been approved for 8 CEU or CCH credit hours in several states by the respective APTA and OATA boards. And it's not some dull lecture. In fact, we spend most of our time practicing Tai Chi and connecting the dots between your specific rehab and fitness patients and how Tai Chi can be helpful in treating them as soon as you get back to the clinic. And finally, this course is for everybody. Even if you have never even heard of Tai Chi before today, you will still enjoy and learn a lot in this invigorating experience. Of course, CODAs and PTAs and other healthcare professionals are gladly welcome to join. The more the merrier. Register right now for the next Intro to Tai Chi for Professionals course in your city. You can find our latest schedule on our website. And if you don't see a course near you, email me or call me so that we can talk about the perks you get for helping me bring this experience to your doorstep. Go to our website now to download the brochure at thewillpowerwellness.com and click on Tai Chi Rehab slash Fitness or call me directly at 617-804-2040. I can't wait to hear from you. So I wanted to really share in the moment of how amazing Tai Chi, yoga, and other practices of self meditation and self soothing can be when it comes to really developing that inner peace that's necessary for us to overcome burnout. And as you can see, this actual crash course in Tai Chi is a couple of years old. This is what I shared um, quite a while ago when I was sharing and creating the Intro to Tai Chi course, but it still applies, and all of the benefits of practicing such meditation and movement still apply. So I'm excited to share it. I hope that you took a moment to stay in that moment with Tai Chi and was able to feel some of that invigorating and exhilarating power of peace. Now, as we look at developing our inner peace, it's also important that we take good care of ourselves. Self care is integral when we talk about really managing our experiences and beating burnout. That means eating with intention. I'm not one to tell anyone specifically what kind of diet is going to treat them well. We all go through our phases and experiences of finding out what eating style works for us. But explore, find out ways to eat in a way that treats your body well so that it can have the resources and the energy that you need to do what it is you want and need to do. Also, I couldn't possibly be a respectable physical therapist if I didn't share how important it is for us to work out, get active, and be mobile. It's also important that we get good sleep. Sleep hygiene is often one of the areas that we don't spend as much energy and time and intention in, especially when we're so focused on taking care of others, like our patients, or getting the work done at home, or taking care of our family members, our children, our significant others, or our elders. So it's important that we manage our time and that we're intentional about getting good rest. Okay? That's where your body helps to get rid of and dispel a lot of the stress. And so if we don't focus on sleeping well and building good nighttime routines, then we'll pay for it. And it makes it all the more difficult for us to get through the day. We also want to make sure to build habits that serve you better, like sleeping well, eating well, and working out, but also spending time and energy on things that are going to allow you to find some peace, find some quiet, and find some solitude if that's what you need to rejuvenate yourself and really deal with the stresses of the day. I want to really speak to how important it is that we are creating and enjoying learning experiences and thrilling activities that really speak to the person that we are. For one person, a learning experience could mean picking up a new hobby that they've never not experienced before, but that gives them a little bit of joy to focus on. Or For other people, that might mean leaning into activities that really give them a thrill and make sure and reminds them of the zest of life. For some people, that may mean water sports or kayaking or being active in places and spaces that really fill them up. So figure out what those things are for you and really lean into self care in those moments when the stress of work and the stress of life really have you down. So now, when we look at the second part, cultivating relationships is extremely important and can be a vital action step in really beating burnout. This means cultivating relationships that are personal and some that are private and even professional relationships because we need to have those connections in all three of those spaces. One way to actually do that is to develop great or exceptional listening and communication skills. I can tell you that over the years and in my own transitions and growth personally and professionally, at the center of a lot of that has been developing these communication skills, such as learning about motivational interviewing. This is a style of communicating that allows you to really show up for the other person on the other end of that communication, and they see you and they understand that you understand them. So that it is a tool that I recommend for anyone and everyone to really explore. Also, other skills and tools like appreciative inquiry really help you to lock in to the best parts of a person's experience and be able to motivate them and support them as they're moving forward. And that can be helpful not only in your professional life, but in your personal life as we're building and really focusing on strong relationships with family members, community members, and such. And of course, speaker listener technique is a wonderful method and skill that allows you to, again, show up in not only our relationships, but in our everyday communications in a way that really fosters that 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 connection with others. Also, we want to make sure that we're prioritizing relationships, especially outside of work. I can tell you when I go back to that initial story of me getting fired from what I said was the best working group and family that I had experienced over my 14 years being a physical therapist and a health and wellness coach, that was because those people on the job with us became family because we got to explore and enjoy our relationships outside of the time clock. And I'm not saying that everybody should be your friend at the gig, but when you have the opportunity to really develop healthy relationships that you can explore at work and outside of work, then it can be really enjoyable. And so celebrating birthdays and celebrating family events and experiencing, those personal moments with my at the time coworkers really created some lasting relationships that even though we are states apart, we still get to enjoy and celebrate one another. And that can be a beautiful thing when it comes to finding some peace and really understanding what it means to beat burnout and live in a way that life is enjoyable and work is enjoyable and work can be a place of fun and health and support. So when we look at number two, cultivating relationships is essential to beating burnout. Now, number three, we call book it. And here's what I mean. Who's taking care of you? Who's serving you? Because oftentimes, as caregivers, as healthcare workers and warriors who are committed to serving others, we forget to allow others to take care of us. And I don't just mean family members. I want you to think about who are you paying to take care of you? Therapists, counselors, yogis, massage therapists, life coaches, health and wellness coaches, sex and intimacy coaches, Reiki and spiritual healers, acupuncturists, other service providers who may not be on the list or who nobody else knows you're seeing or spending time with because that is a way of you taking care of yourself. We often put those things off and we seclude ourselves from society and we we put ourselves in a box and we unfortunately kind of suffer on our own. So when we talk about beating burnout, you have to take time to build a tribe of services or people who are serving you and your well-being. And I always tell my clients and my patients that yes, your family, your sister, your aunt, your mother, your grandparents, they are great supporters of you, but they can't be the only ones who are pouring into you. You have to commit yourself to service of others in a way that speaks to you personally. Just yesterday, I was avoiding getting a massage, even though it was right there in the moment, because I was so worried about how I was serving in other ways. And although yesterday was a wonderful day, that moment of actually sitting down and just submitting to that massage and receiving said massage was amazing. And I can see why this person's massage clinic is healthy and happy and growing because we need those moments. We need that service. So don't put it off any longer. There is something you know you should book right this moment, and I want you to commit to making that happen. Okay? Now, as we move on to number four, this is a struggle for some of us, but I want you to find joy in your work. And we put work in parentheses because work is not always your job. Work does not always mean specifically your occupation. But let's start there. When we talk about finding joy in work, you want to align your values to your current situation at least until you're ready to change it. For instance, that job that I was working at, that I got fired from, what I recognized, unfortunately in hindsight, is that my values, my top three values are freedom, health, and forgiveness. And in that job, I didn't hardly have any freedom to treat and make decisions that I felt were appropriate for the patients that were in my charge. And that really made it hard for me to commit to that job, and it brought on an extra stress when I wasn't really allowed to show up in a way that was more authentic to me. And so it was difficult to recognize that there were people right next to me who were somehow thriving in a space and a place that I personally wasn't. And that was because my values weren't really aligned. And so in the next job that I had, even though there were stresses and struggles and plenty of opportunities for burnout to rear its head, I was able to avoid it because I found spaces where my personal values could be aligned with that job. And for some of you, that may mean figuring out what that looks like so that you can continue on a plan to make a healthy and a safer exit. So learn what your values are and how they align with your job so you can make best decisions and you can meet or find some ways to accommodate with productivity expectations, billing and coding policies, or building policies that really don't serve you well, which can give you insight into maybe you should be moving on from that place soon. But again, the key is to find where your values align. Another way of really finding joy in your work is learning new clinical skills and tools, and not just for your patients, but for yourself. I can tell you that I really enjoyed in one of my jobs that really brought a lot of stress, and I knew it wasn't going to be a job I was going to stay too long in, but I did have the opportunity to study and gain my manual therapy certification, which was more specialty training and skills that I could use in the clinic. And for that reason, I was really able to find some joy in that position. Also, you can learn other skills and tools like cognitive behavioral therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, different modalities. If you are a PT or an OT or a personal trainer or in an area where there are different skills that are pertaining to specific tools that you could use. So learn those things. That can really help you to find joy and really reignite your spark for what you're doing when you are treating or caring for or servicing your patients and your clients in that space, even if it's not going to be your forever home or forever job, if you will. I also want you to think about finding ways to serve that really speak to your heart and who you are. That may be that although you think this job is stressful and that it is not exactly the right job for you, taking on a student might give you that focus and that energy that you can put your heart into something to find joy in your work. Or getting active in special interest groups that maybe if you are in the PT area like me, there might be certain areas that you find specific interest, like wound care or like neuro patients, or in certain treatment styles like vibration and other things. So find some special interests that are related to your job or your work that you can really lean into to find your spark, and that can help you find joy again in moments when burnout becomes a part of the experience. And of course, if there are ways for you to get active in community events as it relates to your career or your expertise, another way of really beating burnout. And lastly, I want you to find where your passion meets your pocketbook. I share this with my clients, particularly when I'm helping to coach them on figuring out their own careers and their own paths towards finding more health and wellness. Is there are often times where we have passions that are outside of the specific purview of our given career, and that's okay. And actually, if you're open to explore those and really enjoy the experience, you might find that there are some spaces where your pocketbook and your passion can meet for you. Maybe that looks like um, a recent physical therapist that I spoke with who is so excited about opportunities of doing more work in the space of podcasting with things that have hardly anything to do with physical therapy, but he's found a passion and he's actually found some success. And it's turned into something of a second job or a second gig to the point where he can devote more time and actually work part time as a therapist. And now he's able to still support his family and enjoy and appreciate a more authentic lifestyle that speaks to his passions. Maybe that is creating art. Maybe that is providing a service that is adjacent to what you provide in the clinic. For me personally, I thoroughly enjoy teaching Tai Chi classes in our community. And I mean, it's a nice extra bonus that I get paid to do it. So finding ways to let your passion or your hobbies really meet your pocketbook may help you to find some joy in work or service of others, again, outside of the career or the job that is bringing on these burnout experiences for you. And let's be really clear that every passion of yours doesn't have to become a side gig or a side hustle or a full on transition to a new lifestyle. But the key is to find work or action or support or service for yourself, for your community, or others that really allows you to feel your most authentic self in the practice. So I encourage you to find joy in your work, be it your life, be it your career, be it your hobby, or maybe your side hustle. Figure it out. Speak with a coach, speak with a counselor, speak with an entrepreneur, a mentor, a supervisor, and figure out ways to find joy in your work again. And burnout will not stay around much longer. As we look at this again, there are four different things you can do right now to beat burnout. And that is to develop your inner peace with practices and experiences that invigorate you and that also bring you peace and happiness and joy. That is cultivating relationships, of course, personal relationships, private relationships, but also work relationships that can serve you and really help you find value in those spaces again. Number three, you got to book it. You've got to take good care of yourself. So book that appointment, book that spa, book that vacation, book what it is that you need to find some peace and relaxation so that you can recuperate and show up so that you are not staying in that space of emotional exhaustion. Okay? And number four, find joy in your work. Find ways to personalize your experiences and the experience that other people have with you. Find ways of adding your extra spark.
You have to take action. And just like rehab, we all know that you don't have to do it by yourself. So reach out to those in your tribe. Connect with those who may have the resources, the skills, the reflections, and the tools to really help you conquer and beat burnout, but more importantly, claim your future. Because you have all of the control to decide what your tomorrow looks like. As we wrap up, I want you to keep in mind the telltale signs of burnout to make sure that if you start to see those in your own experience or in the experience of others, that we can connect them in a way that allows them to start coming out on the better side of it. Of course, we've got to recognize the biopsychosocial influences and how the reality of burnout really does cross all of our experiences, personal, in our workplace, and even in our community. We want to recognize that we got a chance to really work into 4 strategies to beat burnout. And I hope that ultimately this helps to build a culture of wellness in your own personal space and in your workplace and in our community at large.
Thank you for joining in this moment with me. I hope that this marks the beginning of you taking your career and your life back from burnout or avoiding it altogether. Please be sure to complete our surveys. You'll find the QR codes on the screen, or if you refer back to your email when you registered, you'll see the links there as well. Be sure to send me an email and let me know what you thought about the course, and let me know that you've completed it so that we can get your certificate to you as soon as possible. Thank you, and we wish you all the best in health and happiness. Be well.